Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about step 4 in this writing process using AI, and that's the revision stage. And now the AI can enter into this editing room, right? But only as a guest. The student remains in charge. And it's at this stage that the draft exists, those bones are laid down, and the ideas really have some shape. But this is where the real work begins. Not maybe in producing something new, but returning to what's already there, to cut and shape it, shift and clarify some things, maybe to recommit, maybe to walk away and come back. This is the stage where writing becomes maybe recursive or responsive, but really alive. And yes, AI can help here, but it must not be allowed to overwrite, what that student fought so hard to build through those other stages that we've come through. It can, AI can really shine here. It offers clarity, and it can really check on their tone, crispen up some phrasing, and smooth out transition, but remember to cite anything that it reworded. It does give feedback pretty quickly and confidently, and it's pretty impressive in how precise it can do these things. But that's exactly what makes it so dangerous if left unchecked here. Because clarity at all costs, that can really dull that edge of the writer's voice, the voice that they're trying so hard to find. In something that's easy when really overindulged, it starts to feel like mastery, even when it's anything but mastery. So that is a real danger we need to keep our eyes on. That's why we need to ask students to compare. What did the AI suggest? What would a classmate or one of my peers have said to this? What would I say if I walked away, maybe did something, and then came back with a fresh perspective tomorrow or tonight? Revision in this world we find ourselves in becomes a new type of three-way dialogue between the writer, the reader, and the AI. Of course, we always have the writer-reader text, but now we have this AI component. But the student must always have that final word. We can't stress this enough. And it's also why we ask them to reflect, not just once at the end, which we'll talk about later, but throughout this whole process. After every major change, did this bring me closer to my original idea, what I meant to say? Or did it just make that sentence smoother or safer, more sterile? Because, clarity matters. Of course it does. But so does texture, and so does friction, that strange unpolished piece. It's almost like a fingerprint that really only a human's writing can put on a page or on that screen. The real danger at this stage isn't plagiarism, although that can happen. The real danger, that's erosion. That slow smoothing out of thought. In the almost quiet surrender of uncertainty. But if we teach students to pause, as we've said, to question, to push back against, the AI model's suggestions, they begin to develop something more valuable than just merely grammar or mechanics, although they're important. What they develop here is judgment. They learn how to be in conversation with and accept feedback without being replaced by this new technology that is a tool. This is kind of the paradox of revision in this age of AI. The better that machine becomes, the more fiercely, we must guard the writer's place at the table, in the process. The model can suggest, but the meaning, that texture, that real decision, that must still be theirs. All right, thanks. And as usual, I got a much more detailed version up on the stack. I'll see you next time when we do stage 5. All right, see you later.